What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I finally got an opportunity to get some work done on the Jon Boat, and I made this quick video just to show some of the progress that I've made. Um, I'm doing a voiceover because where my boat is located, my AC is super loud, and it was pretty annoying to try to record. But yeah. So here, as you can see, I have the side console mounted, and I'm starting to install the steering cable. This is a rotary steering system that I got off of Amazon. One of the cheap models, probably 120 bucks. I'll have a link in the description. And I'm installing the helm onto the side console. So the install of this was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Um, the product that I bought did not come with a template, but I was able to get it done without the template, as you see. Once the helm was installed, from underneath, routing the cable, the steering cable, up to the top and down to the bottom was pretty simple. Like I said, the directions are pretty straightforward, and it's a pretty simple process. So here I'm finishing it off by installing the steering wheel and getting ready to route the steering cable. Here you'll see how I fed the steering cable through the top hole and turned the steering wheel to help it feed it through, and it'll come out the bottom. It also comes with a cover to cover the extra steering cable that sticks out of the bottom. So that's the install: the steering wheel and the steering cable with the side console. So I think it came out pretty good. It looks pretty nice, and you see up underneath how the cover covers the extended cable that comes out. The two bolts that lock everything in place are there. I end up routing this cable in a much better way. This was just the initial install before I even had the motor controls or anything. So I just wanted to see how it worked and get an idea on what my plan was going to be once I get the motor. And here you see, finally, the day has come. I went with the 9.9 Suzuki 4-stroke, and here I'm drilling the holes. I've already measured it out, and I'm drilling the holes to mount the outboard to the transom. Once the holes are drilled, I'm lining it back up, securing it with the clamps to hold it in place, and getting ready to install the bolts with 3M 5200, which is a pain to work with. If you've ever worked with it, you know that stuff gets everywhere. It doesn't clean up easy. It spreads on everything that you touch. So just take your time and be prepared to clean up a little bit of a mess when you're done. Here I'm putting the 5200 into the holes. I actually had to redo the bottom holes because I didn't put nearly enough 5200, and I took it out on a water test and there was a very slow slight leak coming through, so I had to take the bolts out and put much more 5200 in there to get that sealed up. Here I'm taking off the side side panel of the motor so I can install the throttle and the shifting cables. The directions that came with the cables were very straightforward. Not to mention, JC at Boat Max Online has a great video on how to install it and kind of how to adjust it. And here it is on a quick startup. Make sure everything was adjusted properly, and it ran well. As you see some access holes that I cut, you can see the install there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to video another section. So here it is, the Tracker 1436 Jon Boat, all cleaned up after the install. You see the 4-inch Suzuki tachometer I put there. The remote side controls installed onto the bracket. All the wires ran through this wire loom thing that I got on Amazon. I ran all the cables beside the steering cable through that section of the boat. I had to drill out holes on each side, but I think it made for a very clean install, and it looks really good. You see the wires, the power wires running through that side. I cut out those two hatches to be able to have access. Had to remove some foam. I didn't remove all the foam, but I removed some foam, just enough to get the cables through, which then created a little bit of storage for some small tools, a funnel. This one you can see, a quart of oil in there. You can see the wires run through. I think it was a good idea and it came out perfect. I put some pool noodles at the bottom just to keep the wires out of the water if any water got in there. And you see my hatch here where I installed the battery, which is perfect. It's centered in the boat. It's hidden away, secured, so I don't have a bunch of wires hanging out all over the place. And that I really like about the install. It's a pretty clean install. On these little Jon Boats, there's not much room to do anything. So you got to get creative. You got to cut some holes. You got to remove some foam to get these wires hidden. I just didn't want wires just running all over the deck. I wanted to be as clean of an install as possible. And there it is, the Suzuki 9.9. I got it from Boat Max Online. Like I said, JC was amazing. Customer service was great. He helped me with any questions that I had. The install went smooth. I went with the 9.9 because there is an option to upgrade it to a 20 horsepower a little bit later on. If I want to do that, I wanted that option. So here it is, the Jon Boat all cleaned up and ready for the water. I can't wait to get it out there. Thanks for watching. My next video will be out on the water with this boat, testing it out. Thanks, guys.